The slap didn't sound loud. That was the strangest part. No echo, no drama, just skin on skin, and the faint clink of her diamond bracelet sliding down her wrist as my head turned an inch to the side. I tasted copper. I swallowed it. Her office smelled like money and lemon wood polish. Floor-to-ceiling glass. The city bent beneath her feet. She looked relieved when I didn't react. "Don't ever embarrass me like that again," she said, already turning away. I nodded. Quiet men survive. The next morning I woke before dawn. I cooked, not because I wanted to please her, because hunger sharpens memory. I cracked eggs slowly. Let the sizzle fill the silence. Roasted vegetables, fresh bread, everything warm, generous, intentional, the kind of meal you make when you want people to sit down. She walked into the dining room in silk, happy, relaxed, a queen returning to her castle. She smiled when she saw the table. "Well," she said lightly, pouring coffee, "you finally learned." I watched her take her seat. She didn't see the other chair yet. I waited. Timing is everything. When footsteps sounded behind her, I lifted my eyes, and she followed my gaze. That's when her smile broke, slowly, disastrously, like glass under quiet pressure. I didn't accuse her when it started months ago. Accusations are noisy. They warn people. Instead, I listened. Late nights that didn't need explaining. A second phone she never charged at home. A laugh I hadn't heard in years, practiced somewhere else. She stopped touching me like a husband, started touching me like furniture. Once, during a gala, she introduced me as supportive. Not brilliant, not essential, supportive. I watched her eyes track him across the room. Not sexually, professionally. Worse. Shared secrets live in posture. I told myself I was imagining it. Then I found the NDA draft on her tablet. Not ironclad, rushed, sloppy, addressed to him. She slept beside me that night, her back turned, her breathing carefully even. I stared at the ceiling and understood my role. I wasn't her partner. I was her camouflage. The slap clarified everything. Power never hits unless it believes it owns the body in front of it. I let her believe that. I became observant, pleasant, smaller. I pulled call logs from our home network. Screens don't lie when people forget they're watched. I traced calendar gaps, travel overlaps, expense reports padded with dinners for two. I read contracts, emails, board minutes. I learned something else too. The company wasn't hers the way she thought. Licensing structures, voting proxies, quiet safeguards, written years ago, before she learned to raise her hand at me, before the slap. I cooked more often, asked nothing, took notes. She praised my growth, my silence, told friends I was finally settling in. I let her underestimate me. Men like me are invisible until they're lethal. When the DNA report came back confirming who'd signed confidential drafts on her behalf, I didn't flinch. I folded the paper and planned a breakfast. She arrived glowing, confident. I gestured to the head of the table. "Oh," she said, amused, "guests?" The chair pulled back. He sat down, without looking at her. Her CFO, her lover, the man she'd been reshaping the company around. I placed the folder between them. Silence bloomed. He opened it. Color left his face. She stood. "What is this?" she demanded. I met her eyes for the first time in weeks. "Truth," I said. He tried to speak, failed. I slid one more document across the table, then another. Licensing rights, ownership clauses, the board vote she never had the majority for. She reached for them with shaking hands. "No," she whispered. I sipped my coffee. "You slapped me," I said calmly, "yesterday." She looked at me like she didn't recognize the room. "The company isn't yours," I continued. "It never was. You A steward. Her lover stood abruptly. I didn't stop him. She didn't look at him either. I placed my wedding ring on the table. I stayed quiet because I was deciding, I said, not forgiving. Her mouth opened, closed. I leaned close enough for her to smell the coffee on my breath. You thought silence meant obedience, I said. It was strategy. I walked past her, out the door. Behind me, something shattered. It wasn't glass. I didn't wait for the fallout. The city felt different when I stepped outside. Smaller, manageable. I felt nothing. That was the gift. No rage, no grief. Just alignment. She lost the company by noon, her reputation by evening. I lost nothing I wanted to keep. Some people call it revenge. I call it balance. The slap taught me who she was. Breakfast taught her who I'd always been.